This is when we go over to LA, one of my favourite moments of the week, to talk to the brilliant Kinsey Schofield. Hi, Kinsey, you're back in America.
So I could have just ripped up my passport and said I'll renounce my U.S. citizenship because that sounds amazing and a lot easier than I have suspected it would be for me to move over there.
Yeah, I know you love it here. It was lovely to see you last week. There was a Kinsey Schofield-shaped hole in my show, What Just Happened Today. We filmed it without you. Of course, you were brilliant on it last week. Guess who replaced you? You won't believe this.
Who?
Don't take this wrong. Ash.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's a good get.
Yeah.
I approve of this message.
Yeah, yeah, he was great. He was great, but you were great as well, of course. He didn't turn up in a ball gown, which was a disappointment.
Disappointing. I feel like you could. He's the one you could get to do that, though.
Yeah, or was it a disappointment? Was it a massive relief? I think it was the latter. Listen, let's talk about Meghan. Oh, my God. She's done this podcast with Emma Grede, who's a British... she's over there in LA, but she is a British-born CEO, has worked with Kim Kardashian on her brands, very successful businesswoman, was star of a show over here called Dragon's Den. So she really is a successful businesswoman, a tycoon, if you like. And so she sat down with Meghan Markle to interview Meghan. And, I mean, it's just jaw-dropping. Look, let's play some clips. And here's the first one. This is Meghan not really accepting the concept of failure in business. And I'll tell you, Kinsey, she really should learn to embrace the concept of failure in business, because she is a failure in business. Nevertheless, she lives on Planet Meghan, where everything is fine and dandy. Here she goes.
Is anything actually a failure, ultimately? Because you're going to learn from it no matter what happens. But no, I feel confident in what I've been dreaming up for so long. I feel confident in the partner that I have. And I feel really proud of the team that I have. So that's not an option.
It's not an option.
No.
I love that you say that's not an option, because there's just such an intense narrative around everything.
Yeah, failure is not an option, which is unfortunate, Kinsey, because I would say As Ever has failed. We're talking, she's been teasing on Instagram, you know, big announcement. I think it's probably going to come out tomorrow or something about some big new development. But what will it be? Will it be?
Like, I think I've heard it's pancake mix. So like,
are you serious? No, I wouldn't put it past her. I mean, you know, she keeps starring in these podcasts. We'll talk about her own podcast in a minute, which has been canned, which has been axed. But she keeps like making all these statements. Oh, I might start some hotels. I got some Chateau Meg Rosé coming out, and then the Meg Inn hotels, then the Meg Tuck-In restaurants. Keeps talking about all this. Meanwhile, as far as I understand it, no one is really able to buy anything from As Ever, because nobody, and even then, even if they could, they don't particularly want to, because nobody wants to pay $14 for scam jam that isn't even jam. It's all overpriced, but you can't get a hold of it. So she says nothing is a failure, because I think she's trying to say, you know, when you fail, you learn from that, and therefore it's not a failure. But what I think she's trying to cover up there is the fact she has failed on a dizzying number of levels over the past few...
Yeah, what did you learn? What did you learn from Spotify? Because you've produced a second miserable podcast. Obviously, you did not learn enough from that global humiliation that was getting the boot from Spotify, because the Limonada podcast was as miserable and unfortunate as the Archetypes podcast. But I don't know. Are you going to play the clip for us today about where Emma asks Meghan what she would do differently? And she says, I ask people to tell the truth. Yeah,
well, look, I'm not sure we got that clip. I'll see if... we have. Shall we play it? Let's play it now.
I wonder if you could rewrite your public narrative from scratch. Is there anything that you would do differently?
Yes, I would ask people to tell the truth.
You're very measured about it. I mean, I feel like, I don't know, I'm such a hothead.
Are you? What's your sign?
I'm a Libra. But
Oh,
I know, and it's
Libras.
like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a bit, ghetto with it, like a little bit hood. I would just.
I mean, do you know what she's talking about there, Kinsey? She's talking about palace staff back when she was a frontline royal during her brief tenure in Britain. Those palace staff...
Yeah, and let me just tell you, I spent a week there and I talked to current and former employees, and they would love to tell the truth about Meghan Markle. In fact, it was almost a warning, the tone in their voice when I talked to some of these people that have worked directly with Meghan Markle. It's almost a warning, like, yes, please give us permission to tell the truth about you. But my point in asking about this clip compared to the last clip is, wouldn't it have been a beautiful, humble, moment when the host asked Meghan, is there anything you would have done differently? Had Meghan swapped those answers and said, absolutely not, because I'm in the position I am today because of the mistakes I'd made previously. Instead of that bitter, miserable reaction, which is, it's other people's fault.
Yeah, exactly right, exactly right.
Other people lying about me.
Yeah, I'd ask people to tell the truth. Now, that is a direct reference, quite clearly, to the palace staff back when she was here in Britain, complaining about her bullying them. That complaint got very, very serious. It wasn't just one. It was quite a few of them.
And there's a report that exists, Meghan.
Well,
it is
yeah.
vault, and if you do not be careful, it will start to leak out.
Yeah, but here's the deal. Let's get the chronology right. You're absolutely right. So, the palace staff complained that she was bullying them, that she was impossible to deal with, upsetting them. The head of communications wrote an email to Her Majesty the Queen, the late Queen.
He wrote the email to Prince William's private secretary.
But it went to the Queen. And the Queen...
It's Prince William that deals with it. The Queen doesn't get involved.
No, the Queen, no, you got to get to the Queen.
No, I'm getting it right. The Queen gets involved once Valentine Lowe releases the story right before the Oprah Winfrey interview, and the Queen gets a third party involved to investigate.
Yeah, that's my point. The point is, these complaints get to the Queen, and the Queen orders an external legal investigation by barristers into Meghan's behaviour. Now, the results of that investigation have never been published. Her Majesty decided, this is too incendiary, I'm not going to release this. Now, I have great respect for the late, great Queen. I don't think that was a good decision, but it was her decision.
Well, also, we know now the Queen was dying.
Yeah.
Why does she want to make the last few months
fair point.
She doesn't want them continuing to throw grenades at her. I also think that it's a very clever move strategically from the palace, because they continue to have this piece of information that is very damaging to Meghan that they can hold over her head. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like bring it on, because I've heard other stories about the alleged royal racist that are not very flattering towards Harry and Meghan either over the last few weeks. So I think that it's almost a strategic move to hold this over the Sussexes. I
think the Queen decided in the end. I think they'd already gone by then. I think she decided, what's the point? Maybe you're right, Kinsey. Maybe the Queen did make a wise decision there. She usually did make wise decisions. Who the hell am I to say she's wrong? But you're quite right. This is a ticking time bomb, and quite why Meghan is trying to sort of poke this hornet's nest. So they didn't tell the truth about me. They didn't tell the truth. They lied. Well, if she carries on like this, that report, by hook or by crook, will come out. And then we'll learn what I think will be the shocking truth. And what this feeds into, Kinsey, is the world according to Meghan. This avalanche of negative publicity that she's received, you know, always really, from the moment she came to Britain. Going back to America, you know, there's been the Hollywood Reporter investigation saying she was a tyrant in high heels who reduced her staff, grown men, to tears, was prone to 5 a.m. tantrums, was an absolute nightmare. That was the Hollywood Reporter. Then Vanity Fair, 8,000-word investigation claiming that she was the most god-awful bully.
Employees had to seek therapy after work.
Exactly right. You're causing some to get PTSD, you know, post-traumatic shock syndrome, and they had to go for therapy. You know, that's how bad Vanity Fair says she was. But how does Meghan quantify this? How does she explain this? I've done nothing wrong. It is just the haters who keep lying about me. That's what she means when she says, I would just ask people to tell the truth. They did tell the truth, but they didn't tell Meghan's truth. Here we are again on Planet Meghan, where there is her truth and the truth. That's where we're at, isn't it?
Well, it's also just, it amazes me because in this podcast episode, she goes into how you need to learn how to say no, and you don't need to explain yourself. You never need to explain yourself. You know, you learn this from maturing and becoming a mother and yada yada yada. But you don't. When you tell somebody no, you don't have to explain yourself, and you should never have to explain yourself. While we're listening to an entire podcast episode where she's trying to explain herself, whether she's trying to justify putting her podcast on hiatus or justify how she did not make just a limited number of, and then she did it with the same with Jamie Kern-Lima.
I got my impression of Jamie Kern-Lima.
Okay. That's very good.
That's all she did, wasn't it, throughout the podcast? Yeah, you're right. You know, I'm so great. You are.
Make weird noises towards each other.
Yeah.
But so she says on Jamie Kern-Lima, she's not playing the prove it game anymore. She, in all of these podcasts, all she's doing is responding to our criticism. Like when we say you made 10 pots of jam, she goes on this podcast and says, oh, it was just a pleasant surprise that I sold out. There was no strategy behind that whatsoever. We didn't have a limited number of inventory, and trying to explain that away, trying to explain away her podcast failure. And you'd said something else that reminded me of this, and maybe it's regarding the failure part when she says, I refuse to fail, I refuse to fail. Well, what she's doing
is failing.
She's failing. But what she's doing is she's putting all of her seeds in venues that don't provide analytics. So she wants to distance herself from Limonada and the podcast space, because Newsweek can come out and say, well, while you might have premiered in the top 20, 2 days later, you fell below 100 when it comes to the podcast charts. Netflix refuses to give us analytics. So Netflix is a safe space for her. She hides her like count. She hides her comments on Instagram. So people can't say analytically, this is a win for her or a loss. She's pursuing things that she's pursuing spaces and media entities where she can't be held accountable for wins or losses. She wants to be able to control the narrative. She's not giving us the exact number of items sold from As Ever. You know, what she's doing is she just wants it vague enough to where she can do a victory lap and say, I got a second season of my Netflix show. No, you didn't. They
already filmed it. They already filmed it. She's in denial, Kinsey. She's in denial. And how did she react? So she's saying, I wish people wouldn't lie about me. So all the negative press that she gets, and indeed Harry, she thinks it's or she pretends it's people, haters lying about her. It's just not. You don't get this much negative press on the basis of complete lies told by haters. 8,000 words in Vanity Fair. Do me a favour. Plus,
Vanity Fair, who featured her on the cover of their magazine, they wanted to love her.
Yeah, exactly right, but they fell out of love with her, as so many people do. But how does she react to all this bad press? First of all, she says, it's just people lying about me. And then, and this is the brilliant bit, or not, she sacks her 6 publicity staff, the people in charge of her public relations, in charge of her image. So, in other words,
I'm not sure she fired them. These people don't like work. Everyone I talk to says they don't enjoy the process of working for Harry and Meghan.
Well, it's been in the papers over here that she sacked them or that she got rid of them. That's what the Sun's saying. But anyway, either way, she blames her publicity department. In other words, these negative stories, they're not her fault. They're the fault of her PR people who don't polish her image enough.
Well,
so
I
she,
doubt that
again,
they're not the ones in the delivery room twerking.
Yeah.
And then going, you know what? Let's upload this 4 years later.
Yeah. It's blaming other people. The reason that Harry and Meghan, and Harry apparently is also extremely unhappy about the bad press he gets. The reason they get bad press, it's not their PR people, it's the way they behave. Here's Meghan on Emma Grede's podcast talking about authenticity. Let's have a look at this.
Have to be authentic.
Just be authentic. Did you see my baby mama dance?
I mean, stop it. First of all, can I just tell you the timing of that, we maybe watched it like 20 times yesterday.
And to really get to the place where you don't feel as though you have to explain yourself. And I think that comes with time, maturity, work, support surrounding you.
Mm-hmm.
But also to be authentic. You know, I don't think there's any value either in being so rehearsed and just having your talking points and just saying the thing. No, just talk.
It's just not the time.
That laugh, Kinsey, what did you make of that? It's frightening, wasn't it?
I mean, I've watched this one too many times, and I'm so over these two. I think that, but did you hear what she said about how you don't have to explain yourself? Kevin, that's literally what she's doing with every one of these interviews. She's trying to counter our narrative. She's trying to say, no, look, I'm not a failure. I'm choosing to step back from my podcast.
That's right.
You are explaining yourself. And then what was the other thing that was so hypocritical about this interview? She talks about how she is a fashionista and how she could go into beauty and fashion if she wanted to because people have asked her to. People are just clamoring to work with her. Beyonce's mom wanted to be on her podcast so bad. She's always telling us how popular and in demand she is. But she says that you could tell she's annoyed that other people were making money off of her. And I might have had this conversation with you when I was there, how I was like, I was buying this 40-pound lotion from Buckingham Palace thinking, and looking across at all of the postcards with Catherine's face on them, thinking, I know that Meghan was looking at these types of things going, I can do this without them. And you can't. This is a 1,000-year-old institution. This is something sacred. There's so much history, tradition, and love behind this, the firm. We love them. I'm not going to buy your jam. I'm sorry. But she talks about how she's annoyed that people would watch what she wore and they would monetize off of it and she wouldn't get anything, which is what she says in this interview. But then she takes it a step further, Kevin, and says where it gets really weird for her is when there are affiliate links associated with what her children are wearing. This is the same woman that created a curated list of clothing worn by Catherine's children. Affiliate links, and put it on her Instagram account. The fact that she is complaining about people monetizing off of her children's clothing, yet she is watching basically what Catherine's children are wearing and creating lists around that and making a buck is foul. It is so foul.
That's well put. Now, also in the interview with Emma Grede, Grede is good, by the way. She explains there's the tragic news that Confessions of a Female Founder, her second disastrous podcast series, the first one, Archetypes, axed by Spotify due to lack of interest. It was an insomnia cure, so boring it hurt. This new series, Confessions of a Female Founder, in which she interviewed female tycoons, female entrepreneurs, was so tedious, it was toweringly tedious, that it soon plummeted out of the top 100 basically never to be seen in the podcast charts again, and also obviously just faded out amid no interest whatsoever. So in this interview with Emma Grede, she said, unfortunately, she basically says, unfortunately, I'm so busy with everything else that, that'll have to be on hold. No, it's been axed, hasn't it? It's been axed due to lack of interest. And yet, she's got an excuse. It's not because it's rubbish and no one wants to listen to it. It's because I'm so busy with all my other projects.
Yeah, she says that it's just on hiatus, and once she says that it's just on hiatus, but she says once she feels like she's a successful founder, she might circle back and relaunch it, and so that you have the before and after conversations. I think, like you, I believe that this is just another one of her reactions to listening to criticism from people like us.
Yeah.
She said, what an amazing opportunity to pull back the curtain and let people see what's happening at the start. There was nothing real in those podcasts about, she talked to us about packaging peanuts. I mean, there was nothing real or authentic about the beginning. Why aren't you being honest with us about why American Riviera Orchard fell through? There was nothing real about the beginning of her journey. And she said they have the opportunity to talk to so many female founders and their full trajectory, but she's just trying to say that she might come back in Q4.
Yeah. Well,
using her TED Talk lingo to explain that it's not necessarily been canceled. She might come back, but this is just Meghan explaining away.
Bit like a Netflix contract, which is also obviously on life support. When she said, I used this line on the new edition of What Just Happened, that she says, Confessions of a Female Founder is resting. Yeah, it's resting, as in rest in peace. That has not gone away temporarily. We will never see that again. It was what's technically known in the show business industry as a flop, a turkey, a dud. That's why it's gone. But she will never, ever admit not everything is a fantastic success. And I
think she just wants to be interviewed. I don't think she likes.
I think you're right. I mean,
I truly think that that's what it's about. She loves being in the other chair and talking about herself. And one of the biggest criticisms surrounding Confessions of a Female Founder and Archetypes was that she'd ask something. Not to get an actual answer out of the celebrity who is much more interesting and or accomplished than she is,
right,
but so that she could bring the conversation back to her, interrupting them and going, oh, well, actually, let me talk to you about myself here for a second, which she did with Serena Williams. She brings up Serena Williams in this last podcast, talking about how Serena Williams gave her great advice about haters and how a lie can't live forever. I was so tickled about that because it was just recently revealed that Meghan tried to knock Serena Williams off the cover of Vogue.
Is that right?
Remember that she wanted that cover
game,
of Vogue?
set and match, but she didn't succeed, right?
Absolutely not. And Anna Wintour went on to ban her because she couldn't believe the audacity. But, Meghan name drops throughout this podcast, even saying that one of her children's godparents is a very famous person, one of her mentors, and is now one of her best friends. But she wants to name them so bad, but she can't. It's, again, reacting to us, how you and I constantly say Meghan, that A-listers don't want anything to do with her. So she has to say, well, actually, I am friends with A-listers. I just can't talk about them because it's a secret. It feels like everything we say, every little criticism, she responds to. Like, hi, Meghan, thanks for watching.
Yeah. I understand that you and I are not on Harry and Meghan's Christmas card list. I can't let you go. It's great to talk to you again. I love talking to you, Kinsey. I love it when you're here, but these little sessions we have on Mondays and Thursdays are two of the highlights of my week. But I can't let you go without any news on the ginger nuts front. What's happening with Harry? Anything at all? Thought not. No, seriously, what's going on?
No, I mean, no. We are patiently waiting to find out what these commercial ventures are that were teased a few weeks ago. But can I just say, I got to, well, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say. I saw a lot while I was there. And I saw a lot of where Harry used to live and how peaceful and romantic and wonderful. What a great protective space. What a great escape. And I just kept thinking as I was looking around, those children would have had the most beautiful, safe, peaceful upbringing in the entire world if they would have stayed where they were. And he must really regret some of his life decisions.
I totally agree with you, Kinsey. I think the story of Harry is, you know, he'll never admit it, but I reckon he regrets every day in every way what he did, what he gave up, what he left behind. He left behind, you know, a nation that loved him, a very important role amid the most important royal family in the world. And he went to California, and now he's got nothing to do, basically, except watch his wife sort of showcase her strange psychological makeup. She can't let anything go, can she? Anything. She is still seething about the bullying allegations at the palace all those years ago. As I say, let it go, Meghan. Move on. But man, she is strange. She is a weird woman of little substance. Kinsey, fantastic as always. We'll talk again on Monday. Have a great weekend. Well, that's the remarkable Kinsey Schofield. Meghan's just like, I can't get over her. I really can't.